Volkswagen's improved Touran is designed to compete with the best that the compact 7-seater MPV class can offer. Underpinnings from a Golf hatch bring with them highly efficient engines that complement neat design and general quality that can't be bettered in the Scenic and C-MAX sector. Volkswagen really should be good at MPVs. It has, after all, been making the things for well over 60 years. Just after the war, a British major, Ivan Hurst, was appointed to run the Wolfsburg factory and needed a simple yet spacious vehicle to get things around the plant. The result was the Transporter, launched to the public in 1950 and changed little over the next quarter of a century, during which time we saw it as everything from a hippie camper van to a practical minibus, a true multi-purpose vehicle. Today's volume Volkswagen people carrier is this one, the much improved Touran. Like the Transporter in its day, the Touran is the vehicle to which your Volkswagen dealer is most likely to direct you if you have a growing family and need an MPV to suit. Though these days the German brand does offer quite a choice of 7-seater options. For those seeking something more utilitarian, there's the Caddy MPV, while for those wanting something larger, there's the Touran, sitting just below the really enormous Caravelle, which really is designed to suit those who've qualified for their own private parking space at the maternity ward. For most people, most of the time though, this Touran should be just about right, competing directly against vehicles like Vauxhall Zafira and Renault Scenic at the larger end of the compact MPV sector. The Touran was launched in 2003, then updated in 2007 before being comprehensively refettled in terms of both engine and elegance at the end of 2010. And that's the version that we're looking at here. Though not quite SUV-like, the driving position is a little higher than you'd find in an ordinary family hatchback, which gives you a very good view both of the road ahead and around the glassy cabin, and that certainly makes parking a little easier. The driving experience is pretty much as you'd expect to find in a car of this kind, solid, reassuring, if not especially rewarding. One example of the attention to detail lavished in this area is this car's so-called intelligent power steering, able to vary its feel and feedback to the driver based on road camber and crosswinds and your road speed and the weight that you're carrying, all very Volkswagen. As are the engines on offer, a selection of the very best of the current VAG group crop. Now the entry-level 1.2 litre TSI petrol unit might not seem best suited to the job of moving a 2-ton 7-seater people carrier around, but thanks to a turbocharger and a meaty 175 newton meters of torque, it actually copes better than you might expect. Rest to 60 occupying around 12 seconds on the way to a top speed of 117 miles an hour. The same comment is applicable to the slightly larger 1.4 TSI version, which uses both turbocharger and supercharger to achieve its 140 PS output. Most Touran buyers though will be wanting a diesel and will be better served by the high-tech 1.6 litre TDI now available in 90 and 105 PS guises than they were by the rumbly old 1.9 litre TDI that it replaced. Not that the 1.6 is especially refined or really much faster. Rest to 60 takes 12.8 seconds on the way to 114 miles an hour in the faster version. But it is notably more economic, more of which later. As before, there are also a couple of 2 litre TDI diesel options, the 140 PS variant that I'm driving here and a 170 PS model, which comes as standard with Volkswagen's clever 7-speed DSG twin-clutch semi-automatic gearbox. An alternative perhaps for urban-bound motorists. It's an option on most of the other models in the range if you don't want the slick shifting 6-speed manual gearbox. As I've already suggested, this car isn't really aimed at driving enthusiasts, but for the few that are, there's the option of the ACC Adaptive Chassis Control System, one of those that individually adjusts the dampers at each wheel to either reduce body roll, improve ride comfort, or try and create a workable compromise between the two, should the driver override the normal setting and select either sport or comfort modes. For For me, normal is the best working compromise, but then that kind of defeats the object of specifying ACC in the first place. I think a better way of spending extra money, if you really want to tick boxes on the options list, is to go for the improved version of Volkswagen's Park Assist system. Now improved so that it's able to not only guide you into parallel parking spaces, but also into those that are at right angles to the direction of traffic. Neat. Styling surprises are rarely forthcoming when Volkswagen unveils an MPV, and so it is that this Touran borrows further from the design language used by its maker on everything from a Polo Super Mini to a people-carrying Touran. The German designers have managed the unusual feat of changing every body panel bar those on the side doors, yet still achieving a look that looks broadly similar to what went before, albeit with more purposeful front and rear ends and a sleeker 0.29 drag factor. It's much the same inside, where the Germans say that almost everything is changed, yet your first impressions are that almost nothing is different, which is exactly as many satisfied owners will want. So you get restyled dials, a smarter 3-spoke height and reach adjustable steering wheel, and a revised layout for the entertainment and air conditioning controls. But a cabin that ignores the fancier approach taken by rivals and works much the better for it. But let's get to the business end, where Volkswagen's marketeers rather ambitiously promise over 500 combinations of seating. Now, access to a cabin that lets in plenty of light thanks to these large windows is, unlike some obvious rivals, by conventionally opening doors rather than ones that slide back and forth. But sliding backwards and forwards is certainly something you'll be able to do in the 3 individual chairs that make up this second row, positioned slightly higher so that children will be able to see more easily out of the bigger windows. They'll also like these fold-out tables that are built into the seat backs, ideal for children's colouring. Now, unlike the larger Touran, these seats don't fold neatly into the floor when you don't need them. They only fold in half. When you do want to maximise the carriage capacity of this boxy space, that means you've got to take them out and store them in the garage. So, it's just as well that at 17 kilograms, they're not too heavy. There is one advantage to the folding in half arrangement though. If there are only 2 of you in the back, then the middle seat can fold in half and make a useful table. Or, as I've done here, you can take the middle seat out completely, then reposition the 2 outer seats sideways and inwards to give your 2 rear seat passengers limo-like standards of elbow room. Neat. At the very back, there are a couple of extra third row seats, adequate for smaller adults over shorter journeys, but really designed for young children. Now, if you really don't want them, you can delete them as part of the specification when you're ordering your car and thereby get slightly more boot space. And talking of boot space, well, raise the easier to lift redesigned tailgate, and as you can see, with all 7 seats in place, there isn't much, just 121 litres. Now, if that's a problem, you really should be considering Volkswagen's larger 7-seat Touran people carrier. Still, with the third row folded into the floor, you do get 695 litres of space, or as much as 1,989 litres if you fold the second row of seats in half, with more again on offer if you lift them out completely. Just as important for families will be the storage areas dotted around the car, 35 in total, including storage compartments underneath the floor and in the roof console, storage trays underneath the front seats. You've got a lidded compartment on top of the dash, door bins that will accommodate a 1 litre bottle of water, and more cup holders than you'd find in the Real Madrid trophy room. Expect to pay somewhere in the £18,000 to £26,000 bracket for your Volkswagen Touran, with a £1,500 premium to go from petrol to diesel model that may persuade some low mileage customers to stick to the green pump. In terms of rivals, well, though entry-level petrol Touran customers could save by going for a baseline Vauxhall Zafira, in terms of the diesel versions that most will want, well, they're surprisingly affordable in your Volkswagen showroom, undercutting many rivals. Indeed, in terms of competitors, the only one in the mainstream that I can really think of that is slightly less is Renault's Grand Scenic, and then it isn't less by much. While a rival like Ford's Grand C-MAX will cost you around £700 to £1,200 more, depending on the model you choose. Whatever your choice of engine, 1.2 or 1.4 litre TSI petrol, or 1.6 or this 2 litre TDI diesel, you should find that equipment levels are a bit better than they used to be when this car was first introduced. Today, every Touran comes with alloy wheels, roof rails, air conditioning, all-round electric windows, cruise control, a decent quality MP3 compatible CD stereo, though with only 4 speakers on baseline models, and a hill holder clutch to stop you drifting backwards on uphill junctions. Nice options include this panoramic glass roof with electric opening front panel, the light assist system which will automatically dip the headlamps for you at night, and the clever park assist setup which will slot you into the tightest space with a minimum of hassle. Safety wise, there's anti-lock brakes with hydraulic brake assist to maximise its effectiveness in emergencies. There's stability control, ISOFIX child seat fastenings on the outer seats in the second row. There are passenger head and side airbags and curtain airbags to protect the front 2 rows. The result of all this is a Euro NCAP 5-star safety rating. Now, the heavy use of turbocharging across the Touran engine range is born more out of the need to achieve impressive economy than impressive performance. And sure enough, it does just that, especially if you opt for one of the Blue Motion technology variants that are offered with most of the engine choices. Now here, for a little extra, you get a package that gives you a start-stop engine function, so it cuts the engine when you're waiting at the lights or when you're in heavy start-stop traffic. You get a battery regeneration system, which recovers the energy that would normally be lost under braking, so the engine doesn't have to work as hard, and you get low rolling resistance tyres. And together, all of these things achieve fuel consumption and emissions improvements in the order of around 10%. Thus, a 105 PS 1.2 litre TSI petrol Blue Motion technology Touran can deliver a combined fuel consumption figure of 47.9 miles to the gallon and a CO2 reading of 139 grams per kilometre. Those figures are virtually the same as the standard 2 litre TDI 140 PS diesel Touran variant that I'm driving here. If you go for the 1.6 TDI diesel with Blue Motion technology, then you can look forward to a combined fuel consumption figure of as much as 61.4 miles to the gallon, and that makes that variant the most efficient MPV that Volkswagen has ever produced. Insurance groupings range between 12E and 21E on the 1 to 50 groupings scale. With well over 1 million examples sold worldwide, this Touran has already established a strong following amongst growing families. All it really needed was a little more spark, both in the way it looked and performed. This improved version is about as far as Volkswagen is prepared to go in that direction, with smarter looks, even higher quality, and a range of more efficient engines. Will it be enough? Maybe not to shift this car's appeal too far away from those who would have bought one anyway, but it remains a quality option at the upper end of the compact 7-seater MPV sector, and a surprisingly affordable one. It may not be an avant-garde choice, but it's a stylishly safe one, and there's a lot to be said for that.